I've got more questions for both of you. I also want to talk a lot about Camp Murderface.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Camp Murderface, and we'll circle back because I want to ask you about being a phone psychic, but I'm going to tease it.
Okay.
Esteemed audience, you hang on with us, and we'll talk phone psychics before we're done. But right now, let's talk Camp Murderface. So I vowed not to summarize your book and make you listen to it. Josh, I feel like I'm gonna turn this over to you since it's your name first, right here on the book. Fair enough. If you want to tell the esteemed audience, kind of the elevator pitch. What is Camp Murderface about?
So it's about two kids in 1983. We decided to set the book in Ohio since it's halfway between Pennsylvania and Indiana. So it's 1983. It's a summer camp in Ohio. There's two kids, each dealing with their own stuff at home, end up being a little bit of misfits at camp, and then end up being friends, and then begin discovering all sorts of lore around this camp that turns to be more fact than fiction. They see some ghosts. They see haunted faces screaming in the campfire, and they start to hear and uncover stories about these creatures called vampire devils that live at the bottom of the lake, and that are. Is that okay? Am I doing okay, Saundra?
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm like afraid that I'm doing a bad job summarizing the story.
No, I was whispering blood.
Yeah. Okay. Good. I thought you were saying no. I thought maybe I was like giving away something that wasn't supposed to be given.
No.
Okay. No. The vampire devils they do come up later in the story, but they're okay to be part of the picture. So our two characters, their names are Corinne and Tez, and they start to uncover these hauntings at camp. And Corinne is she's kind of like a very she's super into her BMX bike. She's a little bit of a tough girl. Tez is we think that in the future Tez invents Wikipedia, that's what he does in the future. In 1983 he's just like a walking dictionary. He's a super smart kid who knows too much about everything except for when to stay quiet. And he and Corinne then become sort of unlikely buddies, and they, it's up to them to sort of get to the bottom of this haunting at the bottom of the lake, and that this evil at the core of camp. The camp is actually called Camp Sweetwater. That's the name of the actual camp. It's on a lake, but there's been some bad stuff that happened there in the past, and over time, as a joke, campers call it Camp Murderface. That's like the sort of jokey name that the past counselors call it, and that our crew then ends up adopting as the nickname. So I always feel like I have to. The name of the camp in the story is not actually Camp Murder. That's just what the kids call it, sort of as a joke. But it's based. We did.
That is an important point, because right away the audience is going to think, I'm not reading about these characters. They should definitely not go to Camp Murderface.
That
Why would you send your kids there? Why would you read that on the brochure and then write a check and the whole thing?
We had to fight for that title. We did, because the publisher was like, do we think maybe that Murderface is a little too intense? And we're like, no. And they're like, do you think maybe that Murderface might turn off the gatekeepers? And we're like, librarians laugh when we say Camp Murderface.
Everyone does. Yeah.
Kids are excited. Librarians laugh. But we did almost all the way up to the point where they made the cover for the first book. They continued to be like, what if we called it Camp Deadface? And what if we called it
Scary Face?
Yeah. What if we call it these kids go to camp and it's actually not that extreme? It was just
camp, just manslaughter face.
Yeah. No, I think a Murderface is perfect. It's that perfect mix. I don't tell you guys on this. You're with me. But it's that nice mix of promises you're gonna get some real scary stuff here, but it's face in it, so it's not gonna be that scary. It's a safe kind of script.
It's gonna be silly. It's definitely gonna be silly. And we did have to go back and make it less scary when we did revisions, which is funny because I wrote it. Josh was kind of like the architect of the funny, and I was kind of the architect of the horror, because I started out writing horror fiction, and Josh has always been super funny. And so like I did my best to like make up jokes. It's like I'm gonna try and make Josh Berk laugh, but like kind of my job was to like do the horror parts because Josh would be like, I don't know what they do, I don't know what happens, it's scary. And so like early on I wrote some of the horror parts that his character experiences, although that's out the window now. Josh is all in for writing super scary parts now. And so when I wrote it the first way, and then we gave it to our agents, and our agents were like, what about more feelings? Is this scary enough? Can we put in more feelings and scary enough? And we're like, it's a book called Camp Murderface. I think it's fine. But we went ahead and did the revisions. And then once they were happy, they submitted it. And Kristen Pettit at Harper Children's, she bought it. And she is also, or she was also, R.L. Stine's editor for many of the early Goosebumps books.
Kristen, if you're listening, you are invited on the show anytime. I would love to chat with you about both those things.
And yeah, he's awesome. And she said, okay, well, we've learned two things working on Goosebumps. One, everything in the past has to be at least 100 years ago, so it's not too scary. But also this book is too scary, so I need you to make it less scary. So we put in more scary for the agents. The editor made us take out some of the scary. And even then, at like line edit parts, she was like, do we really have to say blood 4 times on this page?
It
yes.
pretty vivid.
I got you.
Yeah. And that's the toned down version. But yeah, also I have no, like, because I'm a big baby. I don't like scary books. I don't like scary movies. I am afraid of everything. So I'm like writing in a genre. I mean, I'm bringing my own sense of storytelling and my own sense of comedy and everything to it. But yeah, I'm not totally sure where the lines are. So because I'm not super familiar with the genre. So certain parts, I'm just like, well, I guess I'll make it scarier. I would just make it so gross that that's too gory. Like that's just too much. Like you gotta tone it down. So I mean, for me, honestly, like I feel like, as an example, maybe like a cheesy example, but like I feel like the Harry Potter books are really scary in the scary part. Like I felt like, to me, I was like, just if you're as scary as the Dementor or as Umbridge or like some of the death and scary sad in Harry Potter, then that's the most beloved children's book ever. So if that's your, but I think people forget how scary that is. I don't know, maybe they do, but it made an impact on me.
Scary is part of what makes them so popular and so great.
Yeah, and I think it slides under the transom for a lot of kids, where that's really their first time where they're like, I mean, Dudley Dursley is ridiculous, but he's also really scary to Harry Potter. And then as it moves on, it's like, Cedric Diggory dies in front of him. And then Umbridge has that pen. It's like, and the Dementors, just straight up the Dementors.
Right.
There are really terrifying parts in those books. And, everybody remembers, the magic and the action and the adventure and everything else. They don't remember the scary parts. When I'm writing,
and because they're British, I don't know.
Yeah, they're British.
Spoiler for Cedric Diggory for a book that's 10 years old.
Yeah, no, sorry. If you have not gotten to the end of Goblet of Fire, I apologize.
Somewhere out there is a list. I love the Middle Grade Ninja podcast, but I just haven't got around to Harry Potter yet. And now I won't. Thanks, Saundra Mitchell.
Sorry.
We cost J.K. Rowling a book sale.
She's hurting now.
She's suffering now.
1 book out of 8.